Elizabeth Warren hit back at Donald Trump, finally, on the issue that he seems to bring up the most against her. I'm talking, of course, about Pocahontas. Pocahontas, I don't apologize to Pocahontas. Maybe to the real Pocahontas, but not to the fake Pocahontas. So on Twitter, Elizabeth Warren said this. By the way, Donald Trump, remember saying on, and she gives the date there, that you'd give $1 million to a charity of my choice if my DNA showed Native American ancestry. I remember, and here's the verdict. Please send the check to the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center. NIWRC is a nonprofit working to protect Native women from violence. More than half of all Native women have experienced sexual violence, and the majority of violent crimes against Native Americans are perpetrated by non-natives. And then she says, send them your $1 million check. So she took that DNA test. I believe Stanford University were the ones that did it. And come to find out, she does have Native American ancestry. They said somewhere between 6 and 10 generations back, she's at least in part Native American. The argument was, oh my God, she used the idea that she may be a minority to get ahead in life. Well, no, because here, let me give you some more information on this because I think this is important for the story. Where did this idea originate from? That, oh my God, she says she's Native American, but she's not Native American. Well, it comes from a 2012 Boston Globe article. And then what happened was her opponent, Republican Scott Brown, her opponent in an election, started trumpeting this everywhere he went. Like, oh yeah, fake Native American, not a real Native American. I can't believe you would do such a thing. Now, it became like so big on the right-wing blogosphere, and it really became like almost like a game of telephone where people kept exaggerating the story more and more and more. Well, come to find out, that was back in 2012, the original article was published, and then Scott Brown really made it prominent by talking about it all the time on the campaign trail, and then Trump picked up on it, and every, far right-wing commentator picked up on it. Well, come to find out, in 2018, there was a comprehensive review by the Boston Globe, the same outlet, that found, quote, clear evidence in documents and interviews that her claim to Native American ethnicity was never considered by the Harvard Law faculty, which voted resoundingly to hire her, or by those who hired her to 4 prior positions at other law schools. So, in other words, the key claim made by the right on this, and the key claim in the original 2012 Boston Globe article, is just not true. The idea was, oh my God, she pretended to be a minority in order to get hired or get admitted to schools and to get ahead. And again, in 2018, the Boston Globe, the same outlet, did a comprehensive review, and they said, quote, there's clear evidence in documents and interviews that her claim to Native American ethnicity was never considered by the Harvard Law faculty, which voted to resoundingly hire her, or by those who hired her to 4 prior positions at other law schools. So the issue is already put to rest, and it happened a while ago in 2018, early in 2018. But now, Trump was still out there going, oh yeah, show me your Native American ancestry, show it and I'll give $1 million to charity. You can't do it because it's not there. Now, I should also mention, Elizabeth Warren's brothers have been defending her this entire time. And they were like, yeah, we remember our parents used to tell us all the time about our Native American ancestry. So, Elizabeth Warren coming out and talking about that it's because she heard it from her parents. So obviously she thinks it's true. The brothers admitted that. Well, now when she does the test, they find, yes, it is true. So think about this, guys. Every aspect of that story that the far right has been trumpeting about Elizabeth Warren, it turns out to be false. And I know that this is a story that was so pervasive that it even permeated in circles that were not far right-wing circles. People who are not far right would be like, oh, yeah, but didn't she do that thing where she tried to get into, schools or whatever, and she was lying to get in? No, that didn't happen. That's not real. I mean, come on, guys. Who do you think is a more trustworthy person, Elizabeth Warren or Scott fucking Brown? Elizabeth Warren or Donald Trump? She's a fucking sweet old grandma trying to protect the American people from being defrauded by big financial institutions. And that's not me, like, you know, trying to make the situation, skew the situation in favor of Elizabeth Warren. That's what she did. She's the one who pushed Barack Obama to do the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which has returned, what, $11 billion or $12 billion to defrauded Americans when big financial institutions were ripping them off? This woman, who's like a wonky intellectual who cares about, like, finance, she's gonna do something like lie in order to get into a school. Come on, man. It never even passed the smell test with me. I gotta be honest with you guys. Because you always have people on the far right, like, accuse people on the left of doing these dishonorable things that, honestly, usually they are guilty of to one extent or another. Where it's like the old trick of the most corrupt people in the country accusing the least corrupt people in the country of being corrupt. It's like when they start trying to attack, like, Justice Democrats for being corrupt. It's like, no, everybody who would attack a Justice Democrat for being corrupt, look into what their situation is, because I guarantee you that they're the real corrupt ones. So that's what I always felt like that with Elizabeth Warren. All these specific attacks about Elizabeth Warren on this issue, it's like, it doesn't pass the smell test. I don't think this is true. And then come to find out, of course, all the evidence comes out over time, and it's not true. All the attacks were false. So I think this is something that Elizabeth Warren will use moving forward, because I think chances are she wants to run for president. She wants to be president. And depending on what Bernie does or doesn't do, that'll determine what happens with Elizabeth Warren. If Bernie runs, he's the favorite. He's probably going to win. But if Bernie doesn't run, Elizabeth Warren is the second best. And unfortunately, she's the second best by a mile. There's a big drop-off. From Bernie even to Elizabeth Warren, there's a big drop-off there. Like, Elizabeth Warren's not nearly as good as Bernie. But after Elizabeth Warren, there's also another big drop-off. You know what I mean? Like, okay, we could trust Bernie a lot, and then you have Elizabeth Warren, who you can kind of trust, relatively solid, but still some issues. And then you have, like, way below her would be the next one. So I'm happy that she put this issue to rest. But as other people were pointing out, I think this is fair. Look at what our discourse has come to. This is the discourse that we're having right now. This is the number one trending topic in the country on Twitter at the moment, is Elizabeth Warren and her ancestry. Sad discourse, not healthy.